The alt-right, you might have heard of, they're the somewhat more internet savvy, definitely more trolly form of the young conservatives on the internet, and recently have gotten some press for being massive fans of Donald Trump and organizing online to support him, which mainly comes in the form of attacking people for their ethnicity and homosexuality. They have a new favorite app. It's called the Coincidence Detector, and it's letting them stalk and catalog Jewish people online. It marks Jewish journalists and reporters with an echo tag that consists of 3 parentheses on both sides of their name. If you were using the extension and reading an article by Mike's Cooper Fleishman, you would see his name as Cooper and then in parentheses Fleishman to help you single him out as Jewish, just so that they won't slip one Jewish member of the media past you. And basically it pulls those names from a constantly updating list of members of the media, politicians, and things like that. The echo tag, if you aren't familiar with it because you're not a psychopath, is a reference to the neo-Nazi notion that all Jewish surnames echo throughout history.
Yeah.
That is, they believe Jewish people are responsible for myriad conspiracies over the centuries designed to extinguish the white race, which apparently haven't been very effective.
Yeah,
There's
I just want
a
to
lot
say,
of white people.
If we were trying to extinguish the white race, this would be a very different panel.
Probably would.
Because we don't, just saying, we don't fail.
Yeah. And so one of those neo-Nazis who was a supporter of that app says that with this tool, you begin to see patterns, constant bias, a common theme.
Sure you do.
You want to deny it, rationalize it, fine, but we see it constantly.
That's
and
true.
that
You do
plugin
see it
shows
constantly.
They do. And I see a common theme here, too, amongst Trump supporters. Now, thankfully, that app, which had been available for the Chrome browser, very popular browser by Google, has now been taken down. It had something like 2,400 users, and apparently it was a good app because it had a 5 out of 5 star rating at the time it was taken down.
That's a Jew Finder app?
That's a Jew finder,
It's a Jew identifier app. Yeah.
Really?
You don't want to.
I thought that's what. I can't say anything.
Oh God.
Okay, yeah, please. All right, so this is what we've become. This is where we are. Now, I don't want to be overly broad. I don't know why we're so over the top fair to Trump and say, look, it's not all Trump supporters. There's 2,400 people on the app. They're not 40 million people or however many people support Donald Trump in the country or have voted for him, et cetera.
That might be every member of the alt-right, though. It's not that many people.
Yeah. So now, having said that, well, we opened the door to bigotry and racism, and what do we tell you? We said it on the show. We said it before it began to happen. Once you open that Pandora's box, right, well, at some point, anti-Semitism flies out, right? Oh, every time in world history, right? So, well, he started out hitting Mexicans. It's got nothing to do with Jews. He started hitting Muslims. And by the way, you know who stood up then? The Anti-Defamation League and said, this is outrageous. Don't say that stuff about Muslims. Because, one, they're the good guys and they're right? And it was a wonderful stance to take. Number two, also because they know you open that box and at some point anti-Semitism flies out. It does every time. Here we are.
The people who are easy with discrimination against Muslims they don't like Jews either. I got news for you. Maybe they don't know it. It's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. I'd say it's most. If you're comfortable banning Muslims, you don't really like Jews.
Yeah, there's a weird subsection of people now where they are against Muslims, but they're pro-gay somehow. I don't know how. You see these people on Twitter and what have you, and it's like, wait a minute, you're pro-gay, but you still hate a whole. That's not.
You hate a significant portion of the entire human race.
Yeah.
It's odd.
It's weird, but you're okay with
those
gay.
guys are pretending. So they hate Muslims and they're trying to use every excuse to hate Muslims. So they're like, oh, Muslims are against gays. And so that's one of the reasons that I hate them. Now, do you support gay rights in America? Half of them are like, well, I mean, they're social justice warriors.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not like they're actually in favor,
Yeah.
but their hatred of Muslims has encompassed them.
Yeah.
It's become their identity.
We can criticize the way women are treated and gays are treated in the Islamic world, and also not want to ban or restrict or show prejudice toward Muslims in America. It's not that complicated.
Exactly.
It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, but they can't get that simplest nuance through their head. And then, ironically, some of them think that they're intellectuals, right?
Yes.
No, every one of them. I love to occasionally look at the Twitter bios, and I said something about this, that they all say, I'm an independent thinker. Their tweets are identical. Every one of them's the same person.
Now, look, that's a different subset. That's not these guys, these alt-right guys, okay?
Right.
These alt-right guys, of course they hate Muslims, they hate gays, blacks, and of course they hate Jews. And So they're like, yeah, the Mexicans are taking our jobs. And oh, by the way, if you're such a superior race, why'd you let the Mexicans take your jobs? Okay, so and then they're like, the Jews run everything. Wait, I thought you were the superior race. Why aren't you running everything? Right? So none of that makes any sense. But they hate them all. They hate them all. Yeah. And you open the door to one, you open the door to all of them. Okay, yeah. And so these 2,400 guys are not about to take over the country, but you allow some prejudices, some bigotry. And then next thing you know, you normalize it, and it's become commonplace. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you can't stop it. There's a reason why, and I'm sorry I forgot his name, but that legendary poem came out of the Nazi era. That's why he said, when they came for the trade unionists, I did nothing. And when they came for X, Y, and Z, I did nothing. And then when they came for me, there was no one left to defend me. Yeah. And so we don't want that ending. So let's avoid this beginning. Yeah. If you're not freaked out by this, you're not paying attention, because this is exactly how things start. Yeah. Okay? And the idea that... Thank you. And the idea that some guys like Sheldon Adelson are sitting there thinking of giving tens of millions of dollars to Donald Trump because he thinks in his own mind, oh, I'm for Israel, I'm for the Jews. And you're going to give money to a guy that these neo-Nazi fascists love? Yeah. Right? I mean, I would normally say to be fair to him, he didn't really ask for this support, but that's not even entirely true. When they said you denounced the KKK and David Duke, he was like, oh, I don't know who the KKK is. I don't know everybody who David Duke. He did kind of welcome their support.
He retweets them?
He retweets white supremacists constantly.
You can't give this guy money. Are you insane? But but some people get blinded, right? They're like, no, right wing is the right place. Right wing, Israeli right wing, American right wing. So I'm going to give it to that right wing guy who is supported by the people who would kill all the Jews. Yeah. That makes no sense.
We obviously, so we're blaming Trump. We have to blame Trump, who is an insane racist, also an anti-Semite. I mean, we remember when he went to give a speech to Jewish business leaders, and he said, I know this group. You all know how to make a deal, right?
He even said, now, if any room knows how to renegotiate, it's this room.
Exactly.
Okay, that's even more anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and so he's to blame, but he by himself can't lead the party. He can't run this election. So we have to blame the other powerful GOP figures, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But Paul Ryan and McConnell and all of them, they may not want to initiate this terrible rhetoric against Muslims, gays, Jews, and all of that, although in many cases they do. But their willingness to go along with it is almost worse. It's certainly weaker and more pathetic. And they're the ones who are allowing the normalization to continue.